Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm Paul Sanneman, your host. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, I can say this, where we build great teams. My guest today is Heather Minnick from Violand, hope I get it right, Violand Management. So, Heather, what does Violand do?
Violand, yeah. So close.
Violand. Well,
That's okay.
See, now we're going to get people to remember the name because we kept messing it up, right? So that's
Exactly.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. So Violand is the restoration industry's largest professional training and coaching firm in the world, actually. So we sort of cut our teeth in restoration, but we advise all across the board, plumbing, HVAC, contractors, you name it.
Okay. So one of the big issues I found as a coach, and maybe you can say how you approach it, is having the founder, and it could be a plumber, electrician, whatever. Generally, they're not an MIT business guy, right? So how do you change their brain or their outlook or their attitude from being a craftsperson to being an entrepreneur?
I love that question. And if I could give you a little bit of background on me, just to
Okay.
I actually was in healthcare before this and minored in psychology, big mental health advocate. So the change your brain question is like my favorite thing because, I'm just very interested in how we do that. And I think what I have seen is it really is sort of kind of changing your identity, right? When you build a business up, your identity is sort of wrapped into, I'm the problem solver, I'm the doer, right? I'm going to handle it. And when your business sort of outgrows that and it asks more of you and it requires you to step away, that feels very uncomfortable and that feels very risky. And that is just human behavior. Your brain is wired to keep you safe. So
Right.
it's going to keep pulling you back to what feels comfortable. So I think knowing that, and like knowing that there's nothing wrong with you for feeling, like that's hard for you because it's hard for everybody, but changing your mindset as far as, my identity is going to have to shift a little bit. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be the doer. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be the person that gets things done or handles it. It just means that I have to change my approach a little bit and be the one that delegates.
So now, everybody knows delegate and elevate, right? But it's sort of like, how do you get in shape? You eat well and exercise. The answer is easy. Getting people to do it's hard, right? So I think the issue is trust. At least that's what I found out. Like the guy will say, or the woman will say, look I trusted my project manager to handle this project. I lost $100,000 because he totally messed up. I'm never going to do that again. Have you ever run into that where they trusted somebody, they got hurt? It's sort of like, I got married, my wife did me a bad job, and I'm never going to get married again. It's, sort of like that.
Yeah.
So how do you help them delegate and elevate and build trust when they may have some experience where they trusted somebody and it didn't work?
Yeah. I think building trust kind of starts with you, right? Like if you want your team to trust you, you have to also trust your team. And I know that's easier said than done. But to your point, right? People make mistakes, even in marriage. People make mistakes. You have to be able to forgive and move on. But I think where a lot of business owners struggle is, do you set clear expectations for your team, right? Because nobody can hit a target that they can't see. So if your team doesn't know exactly what you expect of them or exactly how you want things done, because it's all in your head and it's not, written down or made into some sort of system or process, then you're setting your team up for failure regardless, right? So setting clear expectations is definitely the number one thing. And then as far as, I trusted my project manager and he screwed me over on this thing. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes, don't run away from it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was something that you need to actually take a look at and see, what's going on here? Why was this missed? And go back to the drawing board and fix it. It doesn't mean that you can't trust anybody ever again. Yeah. So I think building trust starts with starts with you as the business owner in trusting your team. So, um, obviously set clear expectations. And if you have a certain way that you want things done, that needs to be clearly communicated. People can't hit a target that they can't see, right? So setting clear expectations is definitely the easiest way to get someone to, follow those things. But you're never going to get somebody to do things the way that you're going to do them if they're not bought into the company. And
Right.
the easiest
Well,
way for, sorry,
I was like,
the,
one of the things that happens is you said some people to fail. What'll happen is, let's say I've been, whatever, doing restorations or managing stuff, working on older homes for like 20 years. So I put some guy out there and say, I have the assumption that he's going to know as much as me, right? I've been doing this forever. So I say, okay, I want you to go in. I want you to do an appraisal. I want it to be right. It's an old Victorian. We need to restore it. And you think that's a no-brainer, right? I've done this 50 times. This guy's never done it before in his life.
yeah,
And you set him out there to give an estimate and it's totally wrong. And you go, that was so easy. You just had to do boom, 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 boom. What's the problem, right? I'm
right.
sure that's happened before, right?
Oh my gosh, all the time. And that goes back to setting those clear expectations. So many business owners have like, this is the way that I would do this, and it's all in my head. We can't read your mind. No one can read your mind. And
Right.
again, you are setting your people up for failure if, even if you assume, somebody could have 30, 40 years of experience doing one thing, but there are so many different avenues and caveats, especially in this industry. If you just assume, I mean, and if you don't set those clear expectations, it's not going to go your way ever. And if you don't get them out of your head, nobody's ever going to hit those expectations.
Right. Now, one of the issues, some people don't even know what KPIs are, which is sort of scary. It's like not one of financials, right? Um, how do you help a contractor develop key performance indicators for his staff that are realistic to both him and the staff?
I love that question. I would first say, let's look at when it was working for these people, like when they were doing their absolute best, what were those numbers? What are they hitting? And then look at kind of around that, okay? Why were we doing so well during this time, right? And obviously the market wherever you are, because we have clients all over the world, that has a huge play in it. So, for keeping things realistic. And we have enough clients that we can sort of figure out those KPIs if they need some direction. But it's about setting a realistic goal and having an action plan in place to hit that goal, right? It's not just, I have a $2 million goal for my um, top salesperson. Great.
Right.
How are they going to get there? Do they know how they're going to get there? Do you know how they're going to get there?
Right. Well, it
It's
generally
not
breaks it into
just
activities, right? Some kind of activity on a weekly basis they have to perform.
exactly. Yeah. And for a lot of business owners, especially with like techs, they tend to measure, in my opinion, the wrong things, um, which I've seen a lot. And so, like, I have ADHD and my personality style, I'm a fantastic salesperson. I'm great at what I do, but I am terrible at like administrative stuff, right? Like, because that's
Right.
just my
I can
personality
relate to
style.
that. I have the same problems, right?
Right. So it's just a different thing. So it's like you can't measure, if it's also like if you set a goal that's unrealistic, right? Like if I'm telling you, I need you to make 200 calls a day, some, ridiculous thing,
Right.
what's going to happen is your people are going to do whatever they can to hit those KPIs and you're going to lose the quality of um
Right.
those contacts and those outreaches, So I think set a goal and have an actual action plan. Like, is this reasonable? Have we come anywhere near this before? What was working during that time? And, what can we measure that's going to move that needle forward?
And so for your typical contractor, let's say they should have 3 KPIs, 10 KPIs, Should they do it once a week, once a month? Give me some, you deal with a lot of companies. So give me some numbers that you think are realistic for, pick a number, a $3 million contractor doing HVAC or something. I mean, and he's got 15 employees, just picking a number. Um,
Yeah.
how should you develop them? I mean, a good news is AI helps these days. I mean, it's really good. You can go to ChatGPT and say, give
Yeah.
me a KPIs. This is the job. This is my company. This is whatever. So I think developing them is probably easier than it's ever been. Yay, ChatGPT. But
Absolutely.
how often and when and how do you follow that up? Because you've worked with a lot of companies. What do you think the numbers should be to give our audience some idea what they should be doing?
So, yeah, we actually talked about this at the business planning retreat we had a couple weeks back in Florida. And that was a number one question, especially around sales, right? What can I actually expect or should expect from my top performing salespeople, right? And the unanimous answer was if you have a salesperson that's not pulling at least 350,000 a year in sales, not writing that much in sales, they have to go. If you want to measure anything, measure the actual sales, right? Like I feel like a lot of business owners measure, how many stops they made, how many calls they made, and quantity is not better than quality in that situation, right? If I only made a couple of calls in one day, but I set up a couple lunch and learns, or, I was networking with a local HVAC company and we're going to do
Right.
an event in the community together. Like there are other ways that you can move that needle, but 350,000 is going to be if you have a
Now, is
salesperson
that
that's not hitting that.
now you also have to consider gross and net margins, right? I mean, for example, let's say you're netting 10% or netting 30%. There's a whole difference between $1 million getting you 300,000 or $1 million getting you 10,000, right? Or 100,000.
Hmm.
So when you say the three, is that gross sales? And then what is that or that net? When you look at that number, is that because if you pay the sales guy, pick a number, 100 grand a year, it's got to be 3 times ROI. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I would say gross sales for sure. So, what overall are they bringing to the table? And that is probably a mix of, are you providing leads or are they providing their own leads? So that might change things a little bit too. But I would say, yeah, if you're a company that's in the $1 to $2 million range, 350,000 for your salespeople is standard for sure.
Okay. And then other question would be, you've worked with a lot of kind of, what do you think are the major issues? There's a couple of things coming up these days, and even though you're not a marketing person, I'm sure you get involved in it. AI is disrupting industry because it's sort of killing a lot of things that people used to put their money in. So private equity is making a big play in the construction industry because there's a lot of cash. Or buying up businesses or consolidating them. The price of Google ads is going up exponentially because these private equity have much cash. So how do you think the small guy, some guy like pick a number, under 4 million, compete with the big guys when it comes to finding people, when it comes to running the company? I mean, it's sort of, I call it the Walmartization, right? I mean, how does a local downtown compete with Walmart, right? It's tough.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a great
So
question.
how do you help people do that?
What we focus on is developing your people. So, and it's funny because we've been talking about this a lot lately. Everybody's worried about AI, and I get that. We are of the school of thought that AI is going to be a tool that we use to maybe take off some time-consuming things off of our plate. But if you want to be successful, you have to build your people up. You have to train and develop and invest in your people. The culture is what is going to drive that company. That
Right.
is the best advice that I can give. And the first thing that we look at is it a good culture fit, right? If you have one negative person on your team and otherwise the company's doing fantastic, but you have this one person who's super negative, that person is gonna bring everybody down with them.
Yeah, you can destroy a company with one person if you have. I've seen it happen, right?
Exactly. And a lot of
With one.
people, they don't want to get rid of that one person because it's tough, and I get that. But
Right.
The culture is where you should focus. And I think a lot of people kind of chase the profitability, and that's understandable. But if you keep your focus on your mission and invest in your people, there's really almost no way that you can fail there. Like I know some companies that do extremely well because they're so involved in the community. They don't spend a ton of money on ads. They don't spend a ton of money on marketing, but they are so involved with their community that the phone is always ringing for them.
Well, that's building brand, right? I mean, you are the local guy that everybody trusts.
Exactly.
So, Heather, if people want to work how do you involve yourself with the companies? How do you work with them? Is it a normal coaching model? So show me your business model so that people can decide whether it's something that work for them or not.
Yeah. So our main service is one-on-one coaching. That's kind of our big thing. So we have quite a few advisors. And all of our advisors have been in the restoration industry or have run a restoration company, or HVAC, plumbing, whatever it is. So that's nice. They've actually been in your shoes, right? So one-on-one
Okay.
coaching is our biggest ticket item, I guess you would say. And then professional training. And we do a lot of scope work as well. So, for a lot of the bigger franchises, say they want to take some material from our restoration project management course or some material from our sales accelerator course, but they don't want to put a bunch of people in those individual courses for whatever reason.
Mhm.
We kind of take, what is it that you need right now and create a scope of work from that and train and develop from there. Um, we look at the financials. That is something that we really use to drive us because the financials are, that is what's going to tell us whether the business is healthy or not. And we focus on the people, like I said. So professional training and development. The one thing I think we do really well is incorporating soft skills in all of our training. So we have a ton of different programs, whether you want to train up your salespeople we even have an admin excellence program, which is fantastic. And each program gives you actual tools, takeaway items that you can start implementing pretty immediately. But it also gives you that sort of network of people. So everyone that I have met under the Violand umbrella they want to learn, they want to grow, and they want to share that knowledge with others. So I think that's huge as
You
well.
have a lot of peer-to-peer coaching thing going on, right?
Exactly, right. So yeah,
So now
Does that answer your
I
question?
think, choosing a coach is sort of like choosing a spouse. It's maybe a bad analogy, but I mean, it's a personal relationship. Agreed? I mean, you got to trust each other, you got to listen to each other, you have to respect each other, and you have to be able to actually change the other person's behavior for the good. So,
Hmm.
um, who's your ideal client you're looking for? So if people are listening to this and say, "Yeah, I have a coach, I don't know if it's the right one or not," or I'm thinking about getting a coach, how do they help make that decision? What would make, how would they know you're the person or you're the company for them?
Oh, I love this. Okay. If you want to grow, if you're ready to grow and you've hit that point where you're like, okay, something has to change. Um, and if you're willing to actually implement that change, right? Um, I think, sorry, I just blinked out. Um,
So again, your ideal client.
Ideal client, yes. Yeah, someone that wants to grow. I think what we've heard a lot from if we get somebody that comes in from a different coach, because we do have other coaches that, we refer business back and forth if
Right?
it's a better fit. And we always tell people we are not the coach that's going to hold your hand and tell you that you're pretty and that you're the best. We're going to tell you what you need to hear. Now,
Hmm.
we're going to do that with love. We're going to sit down with you and be respectful and kind, but we're not here to keep you comfortable. We're here to kind of shake things up a little bit, right?
Well, by
Um,
definition, you're going to get out of your comfort zone, right? And there's no way to change without getting out of your comfort zone.
right. Now, it's not, like I said, we do it in a very kind and tactful way. And I think because we sort of focus on the human aspect of things, that really comes through strongly. And that's kind of probably why we have such a good client backing. But yeah, if you want to change and you are okay with someone that is going to come in, is going to come in and shake things up a little bit, then absolutely, let's talk.
And then two questions. How do you charge your services and what is your initial phone call or how do you find out whether it's a good fit or not?
Services really depend. So with the coaching, there's two different packages, and it just depends on how involved do you want it to be. Um, and we always advise, right? So I can't say for everyone that's listening right now, this is the program you need. You all need coaching. Like that just isn't realistic, right? Maybe you don't have the time to commit to coaching. Maybe you're okay on like systems and processes, but maybe you need to train up your salespeople, right? Every business is very different. So my role, I'm a business growth strategist. So my entire role is I sit down with business owners and listen to them and hear them and figure out based on what I hear where there might be a gap or where we could come in and say, okay, this is kind of what we should focus on first based on what I'm hearing and based on what your goals are. So, yeah, I think that's
So they should just call you and have a conversation and find out if it makes any sense or not, right?
pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's always the website, violand.com. But the biggest question I get from most business owners is, I saw this program online and I have this one specific person that I think would be good for it, but I don't know if this person is the right fit for that, right? And that's why I always recommend let's just have a conversation because
Okay.
I'm also not going to sign up someone for coaching if they are uncoachable, right? If I
Right.
meet
And we
them.
all have had those people, right?
Right. So, and there's also a level of knowledge, like background knowledge for some of these courses. Like we have very baseline courses for people, but we also have some elevated ones that are taught at a higher level, right? So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. So everybody is always welcome to check out the website and kind of see what we do, but I would definitely recommend reaching out to me, and it can be a 15-minute phone call, just me asking you questions. And then from there saying, I think that this is the best course of action. And we sort of go from there.
Sounds good. So they go to the website is VIOLAND.com.
Yes. Or also, please follow me on LinkedIn because I post so much stuff on LinkedIn. Like I said, I'm big into mental health and stuff like that. So I really try to incorporate that as well, to just sort of add value. And I'm always posting about, what events we have coming up, what programs are coming up, and like early bird discounts and stuff like that. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn. If you look up just Heather Minnick, I should pop up with my red hair. So
There you go. Cool. Thanks, Heather. I appreciate you being here. And I would say if you don't have a coach, you should have one. And if you're not looking forward to your meetings with a coach, you probably got the wrong one. So I would give Heather a call and see what she can do for you. Thanks, Heather. I appreciate you being here.
thank you, Paul. I appreciate you.